Hello, horror lovers. Tonight, I'm going to tell you about a terrifying experience a group of friends had in a forest, an event that changed their lives forever. It all began the moment they realized a legend was more than just a story. Alex, Mia, Jake, and Chloe had been planning this trip for a long time. They were heading to the Kadim Forest, a place in southern Turkey about which very little was known. Alex, the group's leader, was a successful nature photographer. With him was his best friend, cameraman, and all-around cheerful spirit, Jake. Mia, the complete opposite of Jake, was the most sensitive member of the group. She had strong intuition and was skeptical of Alex's scientific explanations for everything. The last to join them was Chloe, a young woman addicted to social media and technology. Their goal was to find the Whispering Stones, a mysterious formation said to be in the forest's depths. According to the legend, these stones communicated with the forest's spirit and trapped anyone who entered the area forever. Alex saw the legend as a fantastic subject for his photos. On the dirt road leading to the forest, a rusty old sign greeted them. No entry. The sign was hidden among the trees at the start of a road that was barely used. Jake and Chloe took photos in front of it, thinking it would make for a great video intro. Looks like a useless sign, let's go, Alex said. In that moment, a light breeze from within the forest sent a shiver down Mia's spine. It felt as if the air had grown cold. But it wasn't a physical coldness. This coldness reached their very souls. As they walked deeper into the forest, the sunlight could no longer filter through the trees. They were moving from a lush, green forest into an increasingly dark and silent world. On the first night, everything seemed normal. They joked around the campfire and made plans for their adventure. But in the middle of the night, Jake's phone suddenly vibrated. He stared at it in shock. Impossible, he muttered. I have a signal here. The phone's map had opened, but it was unlike anything they'd ever seen. The letters on the screen turned into incomprehensible symbols, and the map began to spin. Jake frantically tried to close the phone, but the screen was frozen. A muffled hum rose from within the phone, and the screen went black. Jake quickly threw the phone to the ground. They tried to laugh it off, but the uneasy look on Mia's face told them everything. On the second day, their journey into the forest became even stranger. They started to lose their sense of direction. The compass spun aimlessly, and the GPS was useless. As they walked, they began seeing strange symbols on the trees. Alex, thinking they might belong to an ancient civilization, took out his camera. Every time he took a picture of a symbol, the camera screen would flicker, and right after the shutter sound, a deep, muffled hum would echo from within the forest. Mia knew this sound wasn't the wind. It was a whisper from the heart of the forest itself. A slow panic began to spread through the group. On the third day, they finally reached the Whispering Stones. The stones were arranged in an unnatural formation, just as the legends described. This place was different from the rest of the forest. Not even the wind blew here. A complete silence reigned. As Chloe filmed for social media, she saw something terrifying on her phone's camera. Instead of her reflection, she saw distorted, shadowy figures looking back at them from among the trees. At that moment, the hum from the stones turned into a scream that shook the entire forest. Alex and Mia threw themselves to the ground, while Jake and Chloe lost consciousness. They collapsed to the ground. In that moment, Alex was overcome with dread and began to understand. These stones didn't contain the spirit of the forest. They contained its curse, and this force was forcing anyone who entered to get lost in its labyrinth. Jake and Chloe hadn't lost consciousness. Their minds were trapped in a mental reality created by the forest. Alex and Mia had to decipher the symbols to save their friends. But the forest's curse had started to affect them too. They walked the same paths repeatedly, seeing the same trees over and over. They had completely lost their sense of direction. Alex's rationality was shattering in the face of the forest's cruelty. Everything he saw, every sound he heard, felt like a trick. Even his compass was now meaningless. But Mia's intuition grew sharper. When she looked more closely at the symbols on the stones, she realized they weren't a map, but a series of riddles. These riddles showed a way to break the curse. Their struggle wasn't just physical, it was a spiritual quest. The forest fought back against them. They thought they heard Jake and Chloe's voices calling to them, but the voices were just echoes created by the forest. Alex was on the verge of losing his mind. Finally, Mia solved one of the riddles. What you have lost will find you. This meant they had to leave their belongings, phones, cameras, etc., near the symbols. Alex hesitated, but they had no other choice. When they left all their belongings behind, they saw the stones glow. The stones then let out the loudest and most painful scream they had ever heard. That scream broke the forest's curse and destroyed the mental labyrinth that held Jake and Chloe captive. Jake and Chloe opened their eyes on the evening of the fourth day. They couldn't remember what had happened. The last thing they recalled was standing in front of the whispering stones. There was still a blank look in their eyes, but now they were conscious. The group quickly started to find their way out of the forest. The terrible noises and whispers were gone. The forest had become silent again, but it was no longer the peaceful place it had once been. Exhausted and psychologically scarred, they left the forest. They had experienced something they would never forget. They got into their car and drove away. They thought it was all over, but they didn't know one thing. The curse hadn't stayed in the forest. In the rearview mirror, they noticed that Jake and Chloe's faces in the back seat were, for a moment, covered with those ominous symbols. The curse had found them, and now it had spread outside the forest. This was just the beginning. This story was not just a struggle for survival, but a battle against nature, technology, and one's own fears. If you were in this forest, what would you have done? I'm waiting for your comments. See you in the next video.